in progress. Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Well, I'm super excited. It's Friday.
Yes, I think after the week that we've had, I think we're all glad we're having a Friday.
Yeah, and so we are now live on Facebook. But yeah, I agree. The week we've all had as South Africa, and today is Nelson Mandela Day. And I think everyone has been so overwhelmed that we actually forgot. But I think obviously the few things that we were possibly going to do as a company were obviously cancelled due to COVID.
Yeah.
There was an initiative at our mall not close by to make sandwiches, but obviously that was all put on hold. But anyway, just for everybody that is tuned in or watching and going to watch the replay, it is Nelson Mandela Day today. So maybe just take some time to think about somebody else or help somebody else, as Mayan has just taken groceries to his family. So he's done his deed for the day. So let's Mayan, let's just kick off with our Friendly Friday. And welcome to everybody to this Friendly Friday with the Marketing Lifeline, where we have conversation with like-minded people who like to share and share alike. And I'm joined by Mayan Desai from Irrupt Marketing. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite ones, Google My Business. So that's the first for us, so that's quite exciting. So thanks so much for joining us today, and we look forward to what you have to share with us.
Sure.
Okay,
thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So before we kick off, I'm just going to do a quick bio before we kick off into the questions. Mayan Desai is a leading expert in the field of marketing management and has gained over 15 years experience and worn virtually every hat in the marketing space. When Mayan started his own business, he translated his experience into a service offering that will allow businesses in the SME space to take full advantage of the benefits that a marketing-led business can achieve. Achievements include completing an MBA at Wits Business School, and like many of us, lockdown was a testing time for many, but it also gave him an opportunity to try out some new hobbies. One of these passion projects that emerged during lockdown was in the gardening space, and is currently in the process of canning his current crop of tomatoes. Mayan has a true passion for the marketing profession and fully believes that a marketing-led business that embraces digital will be very well positioned for success. Awesome. So I'm very excited about the marketing because we've had a brief chat, and I know we even shared some of competitive space working for rivals in the industry that we did. But
unbeknownst to each other, obviously.
Absolutely. But I think more exciting is the tomatoes, you know, it just shows anybody can do anything, right? We just got to put our minds to it and do it. So let's start off with a little bit about yourself and tell us a bit about Irrupt Marketing.
Yeah, you know, I've obviously worked corporate for many years and has primarily been in the marketing space, although I do have a sales background as well. It got to a point where I realized that, you know, if I actually wanted to make a substantial difference with the knowledge that I'd gained, I felt that I had to do it within a space where I could help small to medium-sized businesses. It's not to say that bigger customers are out of reach. I can certainly help bigger clients as well, based on what the requirements are, because the reality here today in this world that we have is that digital has really been a significant game changer as far as the industry goes. And I know this because obviously I gained a lot of theoretical knowledge about what marketing, you know, the basics of marketing and everything else. But the problem is digital, while it doesn't change marketing per se, it changes your route to marketing as far as your communication strategy goes. And you need to understand what is the right mix of those tools that are appropriate for your business. One of the biggest issues I find is that people tend to throw the kitchen sink at their problems as far as digital goes. So, you got a lot of people that say you need to do Facebook marketing, you have to do social media posting, you got to do Google, you do Google ads. And unfortunately, that is really an approach that I call, let's throw everything and see what sticks. And that, unfortunately, is that I don't think small businesses have the luxury of having these limitless budgets. Even in the corporate space, you have to account for every cent that you spend. And I think within the SME space, it's even more critical. But here's the great thing about digital, is that what it gives you that traditional marketing could not give you is really showing you how you can account for every cent that's spent, to a point where you know that if you put an advert within Google, you can see exactly how many people are seeing that. Whereas I think, Megan, you'd know that if you put a billboard at the M1 or whatever it is, you know that as much as people are seeing it, there's something called wastage. And you can't account for that. Whereas in digital, if your strategy is actually done correctly, you actually get zero wastage. That's the beauty thing about digital. And I think that if people can understand that, if people can be provided strategies that really get to the nub of how focused you can be with your spend, that is really the advantage that digital has for you in that space.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, yeah, we, as you would know, we also used to measure kind of share of voice. And it was always an amazing calculator, because how did they actually get to that? Like, I understand it's time that you're on the air and how many people watch TV at that specific time. But let's be honest, like, how many people actually paid attention, So absolutely, I love your point in media, digital being a place now, as you say, you can literally see how many people have seen your ad. You can see how much money you're paying per click. So rightfully so, if it's going to cost you R2, but you're going to get 20 Rands worth of business, well, guess what? It's worth your while. So
and you can, this is where it becomes really controversial, in the sense that you can actually follow that user all the way from the point where they interact with the brand to the point where they make a purchase. That does, why I say controversial, because there are a lot of privacy related issues around that. But I do think that many of the platforms are putting tools into place that will protect your privacy to a point. But you still have that ability to know that this person came on the site. They won't know who you exactly are, but that person took this action. They came, they spent X amount of time on your site, they clicked on this, they clicked on that, and ultimately this is what got them to actually make a purchase. Or take an action like, for example, call you. You have a lot of access to this level of data now, which you don't have as far as traditional marketing goes. To your point, Megan, the models that people would have used before were largely based on inferences. And I'm sure you can agree with that, where they say, we're going to assume that because X amount of people saw it, we're going to assume that there's a 10% follow through in terms of that, in terms of people that actually went to their website. Inferences, you don't know for sure, but with digital, you do.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about one of my favorite places, I think also to many businesses, a hidden gem, Google My Business. Why do you believe that this is a key resource for SMEs or business owners, from your experience, being in the digital space as well?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I think it's very important to find out what is Google My Business. And for those that don't know, I think that the best analogy that I've used in the past, that I think many of the owners of small to medium-sized business will probably understand, is that it is the yellow pages of what we would refer to as before of business. So in other words, in the past, before the world of digital became so mainstream as it is now, if you were looking for a service, you would actually go into your yellow pages, you look at it by area, and you would say, I need to find a locksmith, and you'll find a whole bunch of locksmiths, right? Now, if I mention yellow pages to any person who's a millennial and above, they're going to be like, yellow pages? But I think possibly, Megan, I think a lot of people who are 40 and above will understand the thing that I'm giving. So really, it is a place where if you are a local business owner, and I think it's important to point that out, and I'll explain to you why. Google My Business is a place where you can put all the details about your business, what kind of services and products that you're able to offer, and it can be marketed to people that are within a certain geographic space, right? Right off the bat, it's important to point out that if you're a pure e-commerce store, Google My Business is probably not going to do much for you, because Google My Business won't give you a lot of airtime if you're a pure e-commerce type of outlet, right? There, you then need to look at other things like Google ads and Facebook ads that get traffic to your site, right? But let's talk about maybe a person who might be a locksmith, right? You know that if you're a locksmith, there's a certain geographic area that you're in a position to serve. And what Google will do for you is that if people are looking for locksmith in a given area and you've given Google all your information, they will make sure that if people type locksmith near me or locksmiths, and Google knows that you're in a certain area, they will then put your business in a very prominent location in as far as people looking for solutions are concerned. That then goes to say that if a person happens to be, let's assume that you are based in the Sandton area, and the person that's looking for the information would be in Roodepoort, right? Your information won't be presented to the person staying in Sandton, because Google feels that the area that you serve, and you can articulate the areas that you're able to serve, Google won't provide that information to the person looking in Roodepoort, because it's not locally convenient for a person to use your services. So Google My Business touches on something called local SEO. Local SEO basically means local search engine optimization, which means that Google will always serve results based on your area and your locale. That is the critical thing.
Okay, awesome. So just from that perspective, if they are an organization that can service quite a wide national area, how do they specify that? Then do they input all the areas that they service, so they could come up in Cape Town, they could come up in Durban, they could come up, how would you do that?
Yeah,
also,
what you would do is that you can do it in one of two ways. One is if you're a person who has let's assume that you've got multiple areas that you serve, there will be multiple bases from which you're able to operate. Right? So for example, let's keep with the locksmith analogy. It happens to be a person who's got a national footprint via a multiple number of locksmith that is able to serve. Each one of those branches would have to be entered within Google My Business as a particular, as a sub-business. You can actually group them under a national footprint as such, but you have to articulate each one of those. And then you've got to say that, for example, the Johannesburg branch is able to serve these 20 areas. The Cape Town branch is able to serve these here. But let's come back to it. Google My Business developed this tool to help local businesses. So what I mean by that there is that they will still give more preference to businesses that have a strictly local area of expertise, right? You will still get listed in there in the results, but they'll still give preference to the people that have more locally based businesses. That is where I think that they develop this so that people that are staying in areas can find providers that are easy and conveniently able to service them.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing, is how many people actually do Google near me, right? Most of us, because that's what it is. So
but you know what happens there, Megan, sorry,
yeah,
is that when you type in locksmith, you'll see that you put the search query into Google and you will actually get suggestions as you're typing. And near me is always going to come up as one of those suggestions. And Google knows that if you're typing the query for a certain type of provider, near me is something that people always click on. So it comes up inevitably.
Naturally. So just going on to our next question, do you when you register that Google My Business account, I remember when I did mine for my original, one of my businesses I opened was a venue. Do you still have to wait that time period for that verification code via the post, or is it done quite efficiently lately now that they obviously more digital in terms of qualifying you? I remember that was a bit of an issue and has been for a few people.
This is and will remain to be one of the most asked about queries about Google My Business. And let's just give you a bit of background behind why this is an issue. Remember that a lot of people understand the value that Google provides in terms of sending queries for a business.
Yes.
So I think, unfortunately, you always get people who are going to try to game the system in a sense, right? And you get a lot of people who try to register a business where there might be a pure e-commerce player and they're trying to register a Google My Business profile. You might get people who are trying to, they don't even have a operation as such, but they're just trying to put a business. So what Google does is that they have introduced the verification is there so that they can try to work out is that, do you legitimately have a business that is serving this location? Do you have a registered address for your business? There's a whole bunch of things that goes into it, because in a way, that's their method of trying to root out people who are trying to game the system versus people who are legitimately trying to offer a service. So what happened is that they have so you can go and register the business on Google My Business, but what will happen is that Google won't show your page or won't show your profile until you verify your profile itself. Now, the verification, as you pointed out, Megan, is done by postcard, but here's the thing. If Google can find plenty of authority signals about your business online via different business directories and such, right, you'll find that they won't even worry about verifying, because there's enough of data around that can show that the business does exist as you know, like for example, there's a directory called Braby's business directories, right? So if you got information on all these business directories, they will be able to verify you, right? And you won't even have to verify your business, they'll do it for you. The one that most people are familiar with is, like you said, the postcard. So what that, and it sounds very archaic, right? But what it is that before you verify your business, they will say they're going to send you a postcard that's got a 4-digit code, and you will then need to enter this code when it comes via the postage. Now, as we know in South Africa, that is simply a non-viable solution. So there are a couple of options available to you. So again, if it's an established business, you'll find that you won't have to go down this route. The other thing also is that if your business has got some authority signals that Google can find, but it may not be as adequate or as sufficient, what they might do is they will basically give you an option where they say, verify your business via a phone call. So what will happen over there is that you put your phone number will be available. Google will say, they'll send a robocall to your number, and that robocall will quote the code that you need to put in, and you just put the code in, and then your business is verified. The other thing, they give you a text message option as well. So if you're able to receive text, they'll do it. And I haven't seen examples of this, but I know that in other markets it's available. Google will also send you a verification code or email, right? Although in my personal experience, I haven't come across that as yet. There is also another method whereby there are certain markets that are difficult. Like if you think about India, for example, right? Or even other markets in Africa, people probably have worse postage systems than ours in as far as getting correspondence via post is concerned. So what they'll do in that instance is that there are service providers that Google has authorized to be able to do verifications at their behalf and to be able to then verify the business. This is Google's given these guys authority to do the verifications. So what will happen is that these guys, you can get in contact with them. There's obviously a cost that they will charge you to do this, but if you're a legitimate business and you have all the correct information and data available, these things can be done for you. And again, I would say that if you have the luxury to wait and get it, go down that route. But if you know you've got a legit business and you've got all the details available, use a service provider, and they will obviously charge what they charge. But at least you know you're going to start getting that coverage from Google that you're not getting at the moment, which I think, Megan, I think when we had a discussion before, the amount of leads that you can actually get from Google My Business, most people don't realize how powerful Google actually is in as far as local businesses are concerned. And that money you pay with the provider will more than be covered up by the leads that you'll get from it.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because yeah, that was an interesting thing. I think it was about 4 years ago, and it was like, I'm going to post it to you. And I was like, really? Okay, fine. And I think I did. I got it. I think it was about 6 weeks later, but I did actually get it, and I was verified. But as you say, the next time I had to verify myself, it was easier. But I think it's because they had recorded my details, and like you said, they'd used online sources to just kind of
verify,
to trust and see that it is verified. I am really who I am, and so they
the businesses, Megan, that I found that tend to have the biggest issue with verification, and unfortunately this is the case, it's new businesses that have got no trading history record whatsoever. These are the businesses that will have difficulty in getting the verification done. And you just got to bite the bullet and work within the system.
John, wait.
Right? Or use the examples of the providers that I spoke to you about. And there are a few of them that you can use. And they all tend to be Google endorsed as well. The other thing that you can do as well is that on your Google My Business profile, there is an option to access Google Help, where you actually get in touch with an agent on Google. And here's another method. People will phone, you'll be able to talk to one of these agents, and they will ask you to send a video that shows your business. Okay. There's actually examples of that as well. Because all Google's trying to do is they're trying to verify, listen, is your business legitimate? Are you trying to just put one over us or whatever it is? And that's, I think when you understand where it comes from, then you understand the context behind why they're so tricky with the verification side of it.
Okay, so just moving on to, I mean, I know within Google My Business, once you've got your account and you're verified, you know, there's options to do adverts and posts, and as you know, you can get reviews and all those awesome things. Maybe you can just share with us, because obviously we don't want to be overwhelmed neither, but what are some like top tips that you can give business owners that have an active business? Now they've created a Google My Business account and they have one. What are some things that they should look at doing on a regular basis, using it to their advantage?
I think the one thing you need to do with Google My Business is try and populate as much information as you possibly can about your business, right? Be as comprehensive as possible. So put in all the services that you're able to offer, all the products that you're able to, that people are able to buy from your business. Be really specific about the areas that you're able to service. Post as many photos as you can, right? Because the one thing about Google My Business, they've gotten so smart with AI that if you, let's assume that you're a jeweler, for example, and you have a range of products that you are able to sell. If somebody is making a search for engagement rings, for example, right? If you have properly put down what kind of products you're able to service, then when Google shows your business at Google My Business itself, and the person's done a search query for engagement rings, as much as your main picture might have been just like a general picture of the store itself, they will show the engagement ring photos as the main thing for the person that's made that query about engagement rings. And it's amazing that sometimes you don't even need to actually specify. If they can see that this is a ring, Google actually analyzes a picture with artificial intelligence and shows people pictures of all your rings, for example. That is how smart Google gets. Obviously, the more you're able to add descriptions to your photos, that will help as well. But try and put as much information as you possibly can. The other thing I'll also say is that Google allows you to create what we call posts. So in a similar way, the way you would put posts up on Facebook, Google My Business also allows you to do the same thing. It's not as onerous as Facebook, where because of the way the Facebook algorithm is set up, that, you know, it's about consistency and frequency of posts in Facebook that allows you to actually get more organic coverage. Although the Facebook organic coverage is a discussion for another day. But I think the point here is that Google wants you to post frequently, because the more they can see you paying attention to your profile, the more they're going to put preference to your profile being given more authority in terms of appearances and positioning.
Awesome. So I'm just jotting these down. So just to recap, populate as much information as possible on your profile. Like you said, don't be shy to say which areas you cover, exactly what services you offer, products, whatever it may be. Post as many photos as you can, also with a brief description, as you know, because then, like you say, it comes up in the search. And create posts, you know, whether it's weekly, daily, you know, as you say, just to prove your visibility and authority in Google, as you say, in terms of being ranked.
On the issue of the post, Megan, there's actually quite a rich variety of posts that you can create. Okay. So you can create posts related to special offers. You can create posts related to news in your business. There's a whole bunch of things there. So the more you're able to communicate about that, like for example, if you've got a promotion that you're running that's set for a certain time, Google will also even allow you to say, how long is this promotion running for? And they will then give preference to that post if it's within that certain frame of time. The other thing that's very important, and I think this really affects the quality of your profile as well, is that you have to be very mindful that if your business is going to be closed for certain days, you got to tell Google it's going to be closed. So for example, let's assume you decide to take a leave and go to Clarence for the weekend or for a week. You got to actually say that your business is going to be closed over that period of time, because I know this from personal experience. I've used Google to find a business, and when I get there, it shows on Google that it's open, but when you get there, it's closed, right? Now, the unfortunate thing with today, it's fortunate and unfortunate at the same time, is that people have an area to vent, and you'll find that they will go onto the reviews on your page, on your Google My Business profile, and they'll give you a negative review because you said you're going to be open and you weren't, right? And unlike Facebook, Google doesn't allow you to moderate reviews, right? So on Facebook, you can moderate reviews, you can delete users, you can ban users, you can suspend them. No, Google values the transparency aspect of this, and there are pros and cons to it. But I think on the balance of things, you want to see everything about a business, whether it's negative or positive feedback, to allow you as a person who's using Google to make an informed choice. So don't give space for anybody to leave negative reviews about your business. And on the point about reviews, if people give you a negative review, it is not the end of the world. I think we as business owners feel that the moment we get negative feedback, we feel that the person's attacking us in a personal capacity. Yes, there is an element of that, but you got to have the maturity to say, listen, respond to the review in a professional way. Do not get into a tit for tat on the Google My profile in terms of responding to reviews and they responding back to you. Respond professionally, try and take the discussion offline as quickly as you can so you can deal with it. And that also shows that you're professional in terms of the way you are managing the reviews to a person who's going to look at your page for the first time. I know from personal experience that negative reviews can actually become opportunities because people can see how you're responding in a professional manner, and that reflects then in a very good way in terms of your behavior and how people perceive you as an owner.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's something I also shed light with is if you do get a review, whether it's good or bad, always comment. And if it is a bad one, don't take it seriously. As you say, respond and take it offline to sort it out. And maybe you have the best customer that you ever had, who knows, just by taking the time and action to
absolutely. I look at negativity in that sense as opportunities, and that's how you need to view them. It's an opportunity to take somebody who's really thought bad about you and try and turn them into your brand fans or brand advocates.
Definitely. So just to finish up, and thanks, it's been so awesome, and we could probably chat even more about it, but you know, obviously Google My Business is one element, and yes, there's hundreds of other platforms out there and we're aware of that. And as you've mentioned, you know, it doesn't mean we need to be on all of them. But do you recommend obviously working Google My Business alongside some other key social media channels to also enhance visibility?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand what's the where each profile is able to help in terms of the customer journey that you want people to embark on when they engage with your brand. And I think the biggest difference between your typical social media platforms and something like Google for that matter is the intent of the user, right? So when a person is going to Google the information about your business, whether they're looking for your business in particular or generically what your business has to offer, they are in the market and they're in a position they actually want to engage. They are looking for a service like yours. Whereas, let's talk about Facebook for the matter. When you post something on Facebook, firstly, the organic reach is quite dismal, so not many people will see it. But then secondly, people are not in the market to buy when you're posting your stuff on Facebook. People's intent on Facebook is more to engage on the social media platform itself. The reason why it's so effective is because Facebook is able to see what you're posting and how well it can maybe engage with people's interests on Facebook. And then they will show, they will show you adverts and everything else, because Facebook collects so much of metadata about a person. that is why their platform works in that case. But if we talk about pure organic, because remember, what you post on Google My Business is organic, meaning that you're not paying for it, versus on Facebook, even the organic on Facebook, I think Google My Business will outweigh the amount of leads that you can get versus just organically posting on Facebook. If we talk about the paid platforms on Google and Facebook, then that's a different discussion, right? But if we're talking purely about something where you're not incurring costs to post things, I think Google My Business, the intent of a person using the platform is far more effective than if you had to post something on Facebook or anything else for that matter.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think your insights have been amazing, and I really am thankful for you for joining us today and sharing with us. And yeah, I look forward to everyone trying out their Google My Business accounts, or at least if you haven't looked at it for a couple of years, maybe now's the time to just go and refresh it and check your hours are still relevant, as Mayan had said. So yeah,
look, I think Megan, and sorry, on that point, if people are struggling with it, I'm quite happy to give advice on that, just so that it might be something small and simple that because you're not familiar enough with the platform, you don't know what to do. So people are more than welcome to contact me to be able to help them with that.
Awesome. Good. Well, that's us for today on this Friendly Friday. And until next week, I'm actually not interviewing next week because I'm taking the day out with my kids, but I will still obviously be coming to you with some sharing of some insight or excitement or photos or whatever it may be. So I'll definitely be available next week wherever I am. Hopefully this connections will be all right. So we're going to have a bit of an off Friday for next week. So that will be the first for us probably, since we've kicked off with this in March. But next week, so if you enjoyed today's interview, please do give us a comment, tell us what you thought. Go and like our pages, go and like Mayan's page. I'll tag him in the interview, and please feel free to share. And then I will see you guys then in 2 weeks. And thank you so much for tuning in and watching the interview. And thanks again to you, Mayan, and have a super weekend.
Yeah, same here. Thanks, Megan. Thanks for the opportunity.